Hey there, my name is Ryan Yip, and welcome to Artifact Detective, where we go through all things history has in store for us. Each episode, we're going to go through the undiscovered artifacts, to the important figures, to the unsolved mysteries, and to all things about the Calgary Police and exactly what they do. We're on to the next discovery. You coming along? You know what this is? This here is a phone. It allows us to call and text our friends and family members while also going on our social media pages to give us a like and a follow. Well, duh. We all know what it is. We're not dumb. Look, I know you're not dumb. But if I were to tell you the exact same thing in the 1800s, you'd probably be confused. Obviously, technology wasn't as advanced as today. Calling someone wasn't easy. Before payphones, where you had to spend some money at a public booth to call someone, there was something much older. Now, if you wanted to call somebody, you could only call the phone that your own phone was connected to. That meant exactly one person and one person only. Wait, only one? That's right. Let's take a look at this example here. Now, this is just a small example, but this was exactly how it worked back then. It was just two receivers connected by one long wire, and you would just talk through the receiver just like this. What if you wanted to call more than one phone? That meant you have to get like hundreds of phones if you wanted to call like a lot of people, and you had to memorize each one. That doesn't make any sense. You're right. That's why something had to be done about it. What? Where are you going? Eventually, they came up with better technology and developed something like this. This here is a switchboard, and it has a whole bunch of dials, switches, and a whole bunch of wires and all that. But before we can actually get to discovering about this thing, we first need a pair of gloves. All right, well, thanks for the gloves. Anyway, so this here is a switchboard, and it allowed people to communicate to each other through a series of complex circuitry and wiring controlled by people who use machines such as these. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty complicated, but this was exactly how people used to talk to each other back in the day. So, question, how exactly does it work? Well, when a call comes through, one of these lights over here would start flashing. The operator on this side of the machine would then ask the caller who they're trying to talk to, and then the operator would grab one of these cords here, and we call it patching. We'll grab one of these cords and plug it into one of these available sockets, which would allow the two callers to conversate or talk to one another. Now that's the basic gist of it all, but it gets a lot more complicated when more than one call comes through at a time. All these wires had to intertwine and weave between each other. You had to turn these dials, you gotta flip the switch, and if there's a call that comes through that's on the same patch, you had to rewire those lines all together. Wait, hold on, there's so much I still haven't written down yet. Well, it wasn't an easy job, and to be honest with you, it was a pretty stressful one. Each operator could handle hundreds of calls a day and had a script to recite whenever they did take one. Going away from the script could mean trouble for them, but these people behind the booths were so important. They were the reason why people could talk with one another without having to travel and meet in person. Whoa, that makes it really convenient. It probably was a massive upgrade from the past. Oh, you bet. Every call from nearby networks would go into one of these things, and it's the job of the person using this block of wood to connect the voices of people trying to talk to each other. And that's probably why the police used it back then for the many daily calls they had. Otherwise, they'd probably be running around trying to figure out who was saying what. Well, yes, that's exactly why they used it before resorting to better alternatives years later. These machines were used for a pretty long time before they were eventually swapped out for much more convenient and smarter automatic machines that can do a much better job than what we can do ourselves. Funny story, the first people who used these things were teenage boys, but because they were being banned and can't sit down any longer than a few minutes without destroying the machines and being rude, women took over and did a much better job. Wait, how'd you know that? So there you have it, the switchboard. A block of wood with a whole bunch of dials, switches, and wires all over it that completely changed how we communicate today. That begs the question, what if something like this never existed in the first place? Would we still use something like carrier pigeons? It doesn't matter. What does matter is that this case is closed. Oh wait, don't end! Hey there, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages and let us know down in the comments what you'd like to see next from us. But until then, cheers, we'll see you next time.